a pleasure to be here. I'm grateful for the invitation. I enjoy speaking to people. I enjoy trying to make a difference in people's lives. Thank you for that introduction. And I'm grateful for everybody who has joined in, the 37 of us. I do not take it for granted. You had so much to do today, but you have spared your time to come and listen in. It's going to be a great. Ronald, just confirm how much time we have, please.
Yeah, so we have 30 to 40 minutes for the presentation, okay, and then we'll have the Q&A after that.
Okay, fantastic. It's going to be, yes, a maximum of 40 minutes together. But in between, I could ask a couple of questions. I always want to hear from you. So please maybe ask in the chat, or when I ask, you could raise your hand and answer, so we make it nice and fun. Ronald, your team from Enterprise Uganda, thank you very much for hosting me. And I think you got a very good topic, and it's quite wide, but I'm hoping what I try to put together. Sorry, can you see my slide? Is my screen sharing yet? Can we see that?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Please confirm.
We can see the slides, Faith.
Okay, great. So do's and don'ts of business engagements. So what I try to do, of course, you cannot put everything into 40 minutes and be able to exhaust everything to do with business etiquette. So I try to get a few tips here and there. And most of them are out of experience, out of things I have seen, things I've done myself, mistakes I've made, mistakes others have made, because we live and learn, all right? So I tried to, that's me, that's my world. Ronald already spoke about me, gave me a very good introduction. I'm an image and etiquette coach, personal branding coach, founder of the Etiquette School East Africa, founder of the Women's Getaway, which I'll speak about later for the ladies, an events and wedding planner, proprietor of Gala Image Consulting, branding and advertising consultant, and a stylist. You can see how they're all creative one way or the other. These are some of the brands I've been privileged to work with. And I believe you're in safe hands, if I should say. So I tried to break down our topic into three: your business etiquette at the workplace, your business etiquette with clients, and your business etiquette as you're networking. You as a business owner, one way or the other, these are your worlds. Where I used cupcakes, I'm a June baby, so why not make it nice and fun? But these are the three areas I wanted to address. And you will notice that, of course, many of the things still trickle into each other, and many of them will also definitely trickle into your social space. All right? So let's get right into it, the workplace. So the three topics, if you're taking down notes, what I would suggest you could do, please put do's and don'ts under each category. So now we're going to handle the workplace. So under workplace, just have a section of do's and have a section of don'ts. I would suggest you do that. It will help you be able to remember and help you to clearly understand everything we're sharing. So I cannot speak about business etiquette and not mention courtesy and presence. Courtesy, I believe we all know what courtesy is, right? Not courtesy, but courtesy. Your manners. Funny enough, I was having a conversation with my niece yesterday. She's been for one of my etiquette classes. I teach children etiquette. And when I told her I have a class this morning, and I told her it's business etiquette this time, she said, "Oh, you're going to teach them manners. You know, you're going to teach them how to behave, how to." I said, "Yeah, you're actually right. It's all about manners at the end of the day." So remember the 5 magic words that we knew, that we learned when we were children. Can anybody raise their hand and go through them quickly? The magic words, they could be 6 as well. Can anybody mention them quickly? Anyone there? The 5 magic words? I'm waiting on someone to raise their hand, or just come on. Please, sorry. Yes, Josephine, I say please, sorry. Yes. Let me check the chat. Excuse me, fantastic. Thank you, sorry, yes. Yes, greeting. Yes, greeting is part of it. Thank you, please, sir. You're welcome. And excuse me. Fantastic. And may I is also one of them. So you'll be very, very surprised that we have to teach adults to remember these things when you're engaging with each other at the workplace. So whether you're a business owner, you own a salon, or you own a carpentry shop, or you're in a corporate space, it doesn't matter. It really does not matter. You have to be courteous. Remember, this is your brand. This is your brand. Whether you're talking to an askari, or you're talking to a receptionist somewhere, or a waitress, and your colleagues, remember these words. When you're getting through an elevator, do you stand at the side? Okay, do you stand at the side and let people pass through, or do you stand in the middle and just push and shove? When someone helps you out, do you thank them? Those little things matter. Those little things matter. And I had to start with that because we tend to forget. I could tell you all about all the stronger things, communication and all of that, but if you don't have the core, the basics, you know, these things that your parents taught you, your grandmothers taught you, reminded you, you know, in our local language, you know, all the time. You've been sent airtime, you've been sent mobile money, sorry. Do you say thank you? It's your birthday, it's your wedding. The people have sent you wedding contributions. Did you thank each one of them specifically? Or you just looked at your phone and moved on because they just gave you 100K? Those are the little things. Your courtesy matters. And your courtesy will go into your business relations with your clients. Do you say thank you when they made a payment? Do you let them know that you've received it? What are those little things that you do? What extra mile do you take? Those are the little things that will bring them back. How do you respond to messages? We'll get into that. Then manage your emotions. This is especially for the ladies. Manage your emotions. You've had a bad day, a bad morning. Somebody made you angry. You received a message that's disappointing. But will that reflect into your work that day? Nobody cares. Unfortunately, I always say it, nobody cares. The minute you're in your workplace, forget about everything else and come and serve your clients to the best of your ability. Because at the end of the day, that's what they'll remember. But if you're very angry, you've been angry, so somebody made you angry that morning, you come in with that anger to your workplace, trust me, it will trickle down to your clients. How you write your emails, how you write your WhatsApp messages, how you respond on your phone. Ladies, manage your emotions. And to take it even deeper, know your cycle, your hormonal cycle. Sorry, it's a bit too much, but at times I get into that because it affects your emotions. It affects the way you work as women. All right? Then be approachable. Have you ever been at a supermarket and where as soon as you walk in, or any shop actually, not even a supermarket, any shop you walk into, any space you walk into, you try to look for a person who is approachable. When you see one who's got an angry face or whose demeanor is just really negative, you avoid them. And you try to go to this person who's smiling, this person whose eyes are lit up, who is welcoming. So what is your courtesy and your presence like at the workplace? Are you throwing clients off or are you drawing them in? Okay? Manners are sensitive awareness of the feelings of others. If you have that awareness, you have good manners, no matter what fork you use. So today we're not talking about forks at all, all right? We're talking about how you carry yourself. Okay? We get into communication now. When you're communicating, remember at the workplace, it doesn't matter what business you're doing, but please try to apply this to whichever space you're in right now. You have to be professional. That is a do or die. You have to be professional. Pay attention. When your client is speaking to you, pay attention. Okay? Take down notes if possible. Always have a notebook with you. We always assume that, no, we have it all together. No. Have a notebook with you always and apply the preferred communication style where possible. This is quite important. You have to learn your clients. Some clients will not look at their WhatsApp messages until the end of the day. Yet you're giving them very pertinent information. Some of your colleagues actually don't look at their WhatsApp messages as well until later on. So you should apply the preferred communication. If it's something urgent, why don't you call? Why send a message? You should know when to apply what. Do not have it just because you're comfortable with it, doesn't mean everybody is comfortable with it. Some clients give you an email address. Yes, they will, but they never check their emails. You know that. So you should ask them, what do you prefer? Do you prefer I call you? What time do you prefer for me to call you? Should I call you at lunchtime? I don't advise calling people at lunchtime, but some people can say, yes, I'm comfortable with that. Please call me at this time. All right? Then some people they will never pick up their phone calls, but will respond to messages. So you should know when to apply, what to apply where, sorry. Now, when we get into our communication etiquette further, we break it down into phone etiquette, all right? There's phone etiquette, there's email etiquette, there's social media etiquette. There's quite a lot. But running through this, sorry, your phone etiquette. Use a greeting and say your name when answering. How do you answer your phone calls? Yeah, good morning, Elizabeth speaking, because you might not know who you're speaking to. It seems professional. It's a good thing. Train yourself. It's a bit weird at the beginning, because it was also weird for me at the beginning, but I find myself now doing it instinctively. As soon as somebody calls me on a number I don't know, I introduce myself immediately. Okay? When you're meeting somebody, this is just your meeting etiquette. Don't answer your phone if you can. If not, excuse yourself, talk to your client. If it's a client you're meeting, or if it's colleagues you're meeting, let them know and excuse yourself. Be polite. Don't put your phone on speaker in public. We've seen this quite a lot. You're in a bank, somebody decides to put their phone on speaker, and they talk about how many containers they're bringing in, the sand they're bringing in. Nobody wants to hear that. Be courteous. Mind people around you. No cell phone on the table when meeting others. I know this is very tricky. I also break it at times, being honest, but it is courteous, especially if it's maybe a lunch meeting or a dinner or something. You can put your phone away, or you can actually put it face down, meaning you're giving someone your time. And especially if you're the one who's requested for the meeting. Why be distracted by text messages? You've asked for the meeting, be there, be present. Spare yourself that 1 hour with the person, respect them. Then don't speak too loudly. Now, these ones we know those people. They will always speak loudly on the phone. But teach yourself. I hope that this session will be a self-reflecting session, that when you see something that you realize in yourself, put it down and say, I'm going to work on this. I shouldn't be too loud on the phone. Respect other people. Put your phone on vibrate if you can, if you're in the workplace. If they don't pick up, they'll call back. Don't be that person who calls 20 times. Please, if they don't pick up, they will definitely call back. And if it's extremely urgent, find people around them to reach them. Okay. Then our texting guidelines. Respond with a salutation. This I normally see with so many business owners, very many young entrepreneurs. She has a business and she's responding online via WhatsApp. So I make a request, I ask for something, but they don't even say hello. You have said hello. I say, hello, how much is this? Then they immediately just say 50,000 shillings. Why don't you say hello? What does it take you to respond with a hello or good evening, good morning, good afternoon? It's only polite. Trust me, it warms my heart when somebody takes their time to do that. How do you respond to your clients? Be careful with abbreviations. Now, some of us don't understand these things, but some of you could be young entrepreneurs and IDK and I don't know what all these acronyms we start using, abbreviations, where it should be a full sentence, but I think 80% of the sentence is abbreviations, and I have to Google some of these abbreviations to understand what you're trying to say. Please do not be that person, especially if you're dealing with clients, even colleagues. Be professional, okay? Your time and guidelines. How do you manage your times? Your phones, you're able to control the time you're able to respond to clients. You're able to control your working hours on the phone. But some of us, even at 10:30 p.m., we are there responding to requests. I'm complaining. I'm not saying it, but manage your time. Be professional and say we are open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. Won't be able to respond to your messages until the next day after that. Control your hours. If you're responding to a client, honestly, if I asked you for something at about midday and you get to respond to me at 11 p.m. in the night, I'll have so many questions. Unless you're an international, unless you're out of the country, that could be understandable. Then be aware of your tone while you're texting. A client has come through, requested for something. They're asking for maybe help or guidelines on how you work. But the way you respond, what tone are you using? Do you sound rude on the phone or do you sound polite? Know when to text and when not to. I talked about that. At times you need to pick up the phone and call. But also something I should mention is please invest in your business. You can spare some minutes and call a client. Don't call via WhatsApp. Honestly, it throws me off again, unless you're out of the country. But if you're calling a client, why are you using WhatsApp calls? To me, it just shows that you're being a little bit stingy. Call me, all right? Call me and let's have a good discussion. Invest in those minutes. I don't think it costs you much to have a bundle where you can call a client and, you know. Anyway, so be cautious when changing meeting times via text with your colleagues as well as your clients. Be very cautious, all right? Make sure if you can't follow up with a phone call, because some people, again, as I said, might not look at their text messages. And then also autocorrect is not always correct. Always check your messages. Let's get into emails. Double check that you have selected the correct recipient. So we always advise that you actually put in the recipient after you have written all the content of the email, put the sign off, put all the attachments, then add the email address last. It's because we need to confirm. We need to confirm that we selected the right recipient. Add the email address last. I've said that. Choose a good subject line. Be precise. Okay, don't write too much. Don't make it too lengthy. Then mind your tone as well in your email. Remember emails. Remember anything that is online. They are receipts. People will always come back to it. So mind your tone when you're speaking, responding on an email. You could be angry about something. If you're angry with a colleague, you need to respond to them. I always advise walk away. Don't respond immediately. Because trust me, half of the time, most of the time, you will regret it. You will regret it. So walk away. If you can wait until the next day when you have been able to take a break, to breathe, respond to that email. But do not respond when you have fire on your head. All right? Please don't. Use a salutation. We talked about that. Use a salutation under closing. A salutation is good morning, good evening, greetings, dear. You know, I wouldn't advise hi to a client in email. I really wouldn't. No, be professional, okay? Make it easy to read as well. Make the email easy to read, all right? Be cautious with humor. Be very cautious with humor. You could find it funny, but the other person, really, you throw them off. Again, be professional and proofread. Before you send something, always proofread. Your social media could make or break you. Social media could make or break your career or your business. I hope you know that. So what you're posting matters. Who you're following matters. What you're commenting on matters. What you're saying. Are you commenting as your business? Are you commenting as your business? Or, I'm really sorry, I'm sorry about the noise coming through. You should post appropriate and relevant information, always. Avoid being on social media during meetings. Be respectful. Be respectful. There's nothing as annoying as going somewhere to speak. I've seen this quite a lot. When I go somewhere to speak and people, somebody pulls out their phone and you can clearly see they're just scrolling through TikTok. So I always ensure that it's one of my house rules is phones are down so that people pay attention and are in the space. Know what your customers and competition are doing. Social media is good. As I said, it could make you or break you, but also use it to your advantage. Look out to your competition. See what they're doing. Learn something. Okay? Learn something. Don't stay in your bubble. No. Learn something. Moderate usage. Know your hours during the day. When you need to work, moderate usage of social media because you know how it can affect your work. Okay? And once you get into the TikTok world, that's a good example. As you just say, I'll only look at one. You find yourself spending 2 hours on TikTok. Have a professional headshot. This is important. If I could ask some of us to put on our actually, I think I saw as when I was speaking, I went through, and very few of us had professional photos on. But again, you're growing your brand. So make sure on your social media, on your LinkedIn, first of all, how many of us are on LinkedIn? Let me ask that question here. Let me open up in the chats or hands raised. How many of us are on LinkedIn? That is a professional space you have to be, not two ways around it. Not two ways around it. And if I'm to ask that, if it was a physical class, I would ask you to show me your professional photos, your LinkedIn profile photos. What do they look like? Some of you, you're showing your campus photo 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Try to make sure you take a photo every year or every 2 years at least. In all your professional spaces, on your websites, what does it look like? If I Googled you right now, what would come up? Good question, right? Some self-reflection. Okay, so remember the internet does not forget. So be very careful what you're posting, what you're putting out there. The internet doesn't forget. And I know you're seeing it, but you're seeing it now. There are always receipts. Someone says something, they pull out a receipt. So be careful with your social media, your personal social media and your space. And I always advise, if it's possible, separate the two. If you can. When I'm speaking to corporate clients, I tell them, if there's a way you can separate your work phone and your personal line, and you have two lines, please do that. Because at times you don't want everybody at the workplace to know what's happening, what's going on in your personal life. At times you're doing other businesses. So maybe that's a tip for some of us, if you want to separate your workspace, your social media, and separate your work and your personal life. Online meetings. Now here I would want to hear from you. Please put on your microphones. Maybe Ronald, you can help me select 2 or 3 people. What annoys you with online meetings? Let me start with annoying, because I know we know the do's. What annoys you with online meetings? Someone? I'd like to hear your voices. You can raise your hands, and maybe Ronald can select someone. What really irks you with online meetings? Are there hands raised?
Yes, there are. Susan, please go ahead.
Thank you for that presentation. One thing that really annoys is someone presenting and they are chewing, they are eating.
That's true. That's very true. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. And anybody else? That's very true. Anybody else?
Dan, go ahead.
Thank you. What really annoys me is when people join with their mic on and you can hear whatever is in the background. Maybe they are in the tax park and everybody is hearing what's in the background. That one really annoys me. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. Thank you. I can actually share this story. Recently, something happened during a presentation. Somebody was supposed to present and they were extremely ill prepared. First of all, they were walking. Secondly, what made it worse is they even ordered a boda during the call. And this, I'm telling you out of experience, and we saw this just last week. It shocked us so much. Imagine we are in 2024 and people are still making these mistakes. They literally ordered a boda during a presentation. So again, how are you? You need to teach your colleagues, teach your employers. You know, at times they have to represent the company. These are mistakes they are making. And this person was from a certain company, a real estate company, and they're representing them. But imagine they did this during a presentation. So please, when you get this knowledge, don't just keep it to yourself. Speak to your employers. Speak to your employers and make sure they're doing the right things and representing the brands correctly. Online meetings, we know that your background matters. Your background matters. Your content matters. Your presentations matter. Are you prepared? Are you prepared? Are you in the right space? Your network also, at times, okay, you have no control over that. Anything could happen in this couple of hours. Electricity could go off. But again, be cautious of your audience. Don't make it too lengthy. Get in and get out. Make it punchy enough, okay? Then who's your point of contact? Now we're at the workplace. Remember, still at the workplace. Your point of contact. If it's yourself, how are you presenting the brand? Okay? If you're picking up a phone call, if you're meeting a client physically, remember you are the brand. And first impressions, what impression are you making? We're going to talk about that. If it's your receptionist, the one thing when I get into a space, I always look out for the receptionist. Because again, she's the one who welcomes me, right? Into that space. How she pulls out of her desk her body language, how she's walking. Then I watch out for the shoes she's wearing. Trust me, the number of times I found receptionists who are wearing sandals and slippers. And I know you have seen this, and I know it's happening in some of your spaces as well. If a receptionist comes out of her desk and pulls out of her desk and is wearing sandals and slippers, it immediately biases me. Why? She's the brand. She's the first person. She's a point of contact. How she picks up the phone matters. Okay, then she walks and takes me to the office I'm supposed to go to, or the presentation space, but that already tells me a lot about the organization. Okay? If it's an employee representing the brand or the point of contact, yes, there is a sales number that we're supposed to call. How are they talking? When she comes through to make a sale to me, to make a pitch to me, whatever she's selling to me, whether it's just perfume or lipstick or something, you know, pay attention to this and invest in them. Some of you, I don't know if you've asked your colleagues or your employees to be on this call, or is it just for you? All right? And you'll be surprised. I've been asked to go to, yes, I've been privileged to speak in big spaces, big corporate organizations, but then I have people who have invited me. They have 10 employees, 5 employees. A company, there's a company called, I don't know if some of you know companies. It's a business that makes, that handles shoes at Forest Mall. Some of you take your shoes and handbags there. They've asked me to come and speak to them on a Saturday morning because they care about their brand and about their employees. So your point of contact, teach them, train them. It really matters. They can throw your clients off. So let's get into the client space. Manage expectations. This is one of the most important things. If there's anything I'm going to speak about today, and if you have to pick out something, this should be the most important one. One of those anyway. Manage expectations. I don't know how far I can take this. Time, number one. So you know you're definitely going to be late for a meeting, right? You know you are. Your meeting is at Garden City, but you're still in Buya. Your meeting is for 9 a.m., but you're still in Buya at 10 minutes to 9. Even on a border, trust me. So if you knew you're going to be late, call the client. Let them know in advance and say, I'm really sorry, I'll be 10 minutes late, I'll be 15 minutes late. Manage expectations. Then if work is not going well, you had a deadline, but you know you won't beat that deadline. Let me know in advance and tell me, you know what, Faith, I need 2 more days, 3 more days. Manage expectations. Thirdly, you promised a client something will come out a certain way. It could be a hairstyle, you know, we always have that. I come to you, I show you a hairstyle. You definitely know the quality of my hair. I cannot be able to pull it off, but you say you can do it. And then I end up being disappointed and we have to take out the hair. Then you've disappointed me. It's a bride. She's crying. She's doing everything. Let me know that you won't be able to do it. In case you're I can give this example because we always see it quite a lot. In case you're a style, you're a tailor, you're into the fashion business. Someone comes with their style again and you say, yes, of course I can do it. Even those who do interior, you're a painter or something, you know, different things, creative spaces, I should say. You say you can do it, a carpenter. But then when it comes out, it's totally different from what the client asked for. You know, what I wanted versus what I got. Manage expectations. Keep your word and promise. You don't want to be known as Faith. Oh, Faith, the one who doesn't keep a promise. Or the one who's always late. The one who, no. If you promise someone something, if you promise your child something, if you promised a colleague something, do it. And in case you can't do it, let me know. So don't disappoint people. And remember, this is all applying even in your social life. I can give an example. You know, you could be single, you could be dating. You ask someone out to go out with you, you know, to have a meal with you. But then you happen to be late, or you definitely know you're going to be late. You won't make it at the time that was allotted, 7:30 p.m. Let the person know that you're going to be late. Out of respect for them, okay? Then deliver as promised. If a client has paid you, the client has met all the payment terms, why aren't you delivering as promised? Why do you do shoddy work? And you know you have seen this. Have a spirit of excellence. Have a spirit of excellence. I don't know how people sleep well at night when they know they haven't delivered. I'm into the events business, okay? Actually, I could give this example. There's a time I was supposed to meet So I'm an events planner, an events and wedding planner. So I was supposed to meet a decorator doing some work for a client. And thank goodness this decorator was actually recommended by the client. I'll tell you why I'm saying thank goodness anyway. So this particular decorator, I was supposed to meet her at the venue. She came 1.5 hours late, number one. When she came, she was wearing Crocs. If that's not bad enough, the Crocs had eyes. So they were cartoon Crocs, all right? Thirdly, when we tried to reach her during all the correspondences we had, she would never pick up her phone calls. She was really extremely unreliable. It got me to a point where I had to write a disclaimer to the client. Yes, we have to do that. I wrote a disclaimer to the client that I will not be responsible for the work that she produced. And honestly speaking, not to be biased, the work she produced represented the person I saw and met the first time. So are you delivering as promised? Do you even care? Or do you just wait for the next job and move on? Remember your work. Many of us work out of recommendations, okay? Anyway, moving on. Mind your boundaries, all right? Mind your boundaries, especially with your clients. Don't be too friendly. Don't be too, when do you use dear? Hello, dear. Yes, dear. No, dear. No. Have boundaries. Be professional. When you're in the presence of a client, have space. It's something we teach. When you're talking about body language, I always teach people how to have professional space. When you give a handshake, when do you hug and when not to hug? Think about that. Even with your colleagues, have boundaries. Don't get too much into a client's space, if I should say, okay? Don't breathe into too much. Keep it professional, right? I know you might have some questions about this. I can answer that later. Then when you're in a meeting, it matters. If you're the one who set the meeting, where is the meeting? When is the meeting? Why? The why is, do you have the content? Do you have the questions? Why are you meeting? And how are you meeting? Is it online? Is it physical? You should care about that. Again, minding your client. You have some of those clients who always like physical meetings. Whether you call them, they'll say, no, let's meet and have coffee. They're always there. So learn your clients. And when you're deciding on where a meeting should be, let it be somewhere you've been before. I always advise that, especially if it's over lunch or over a meal or dinner. Let it be somewhere you've been before so you know the prices, you're comfortable with the space. It won't be too noisy. Just mind that, okay? Your image when you're meeting a client, first impressions. The 7-second rule is it takes about 6 to 7 seconds for you to make an impression. This is before you say hello. This is before you say, hello, my name is Faith. I'm from Gala Image Consulting or the Etiquette School, East Africa. How do I walk into the space? So my grooming matters. Your grooming matters. It does not matter what you do. I've given you that story, your image. I've given you that story of that lady who was wearing Crocs and looked a certain way. It matters. And it doesn't matter what field you're in. Okay? Body odor. Make sure you're fresh when you're meeting a client, even your colleagues. Wear some deodorant. It's funny, but I have to always talk about these things. Have you ironed your clothes? Are your shoes polished? Okay? What is your wardrobe like? What do you choose to wear to client meetings? Pay attention. However much you're into farming or something, respect your clients. Respect them. Okay? I can go on and on. The topic of grooming and wardrobe is such a wide one, but I want you to pay attention to these things because no matter what, it is your brand. Remember, I will judge you. The human mind will judge you. 6 to 7 seconds only. Before you introduce yourself and give me all the content and data, all those things, I would have already judged you. And then the premises, your office space, what does it look like? Your office space or your business space or your shop, it doesn't matter. But is it presentable? When I come, when it's a workshop or a certain way, is it presentable? When you sit me down somewhere, do you have a small space where I sit? I know you could be, again, let me give the example of carpentry, because there's work going on. But create a small space where your clients sit. Make it nice, make it beautiful, that when I sit, I feel like, okay, yeah, this person can do my job. All right? Some of you never want to bring people to your offices because you know what they look like. But pay attention. Revamp your space. I'm into interior design. Yes, I know I do so many things. But again, those are some of the requests I get. Office spaces, revamp your space because your space is your brand. I always have high expectations when I go to certain spaces. But when I get there, I'm like, okay. But remember, you spend more time on your office space, in your workspace, than you spend even at home. So your premises, and if your business is at home, have a certain space and area where your clients sit. I remember Rosemary told us how she has a beautiful gazebo where her clients sit and there's music playing. She serves them a drink. Do you pay all this attention to your clients? Okay, remember, first impressions matter. Okay, make it comfortable, simple. You don't have to spend too much money, not at all. And make a plan, have a phased plan on how you're going to do it. Maybe buy some chairs, then 3 months later, buy something, you know, have a plan. It could be a year's plan, but you have a goal of how you're going to do it. All right. Then your presentation, again, you're presenting to a client, something that is very, very, very important, and we tend to forget. So you have a presentation, you're going to speak to a certain number of people, whether it's 2 people or 100 people, it doesn't matter. I want you to remember this. 55% body language and facial expressions is what people pay attention to. 55%. So practice your body language. We always have a session on this, and it's quite wide. But some of your body language immediately, when you get onto stage, you know, get into the platform, you throw us off with just your body language. Or when you're meeting people, what's your body language? What does your face say? Then 38% vocal characteristics. When I'm with my clients, I always make them make noises, you know, how far do their voices go? When I'm speaking to children, a child comes into my class, hello, my name is Faith. And this, by the time we're done with the session, I have to ensure that I've got the best out of her voice as much as possible, because it shows that you're confident. With some of you, your voice says, even with a microphone. Remember, these are all tips on how you can boost your confidence. You could be so scared on the inside, but the minute your voice at a certain level, you're drawing attention, okay? The tone and volume. And then sadly, it's just 7%. Your words, your content is just 7%. Because again, the human brain pays attention to things differently. So please, 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 as I said, you could have all the content in the world and you're the best at what you do. But if you cannot command the room and command the audience, then you're losing out on something. All right, so I talked about that, your body language and your vocal characteristics. Now, our last cupcake, when we are networking. Remember, we've spoken about your workplace, then we've spoken about your clients, okay? And now the last cupcake is networking. Because I have to speak about this, because you don't only get into your workplace and just sit at your desk, you have to get into certain spaces. So when you're at events, when you're at events, how do you present yourself? What is your business etiquette like? How do you carry yourself? First of all, what networking spaces do you get into? Some of us only get to the desk, enter the car or enter the taxi, get on the border, head home. 365 days in the year. But I would want you to expand. Meet new people. It's good for you as an individual, but also good for your business. Get into interesting spaces. You have that friend who's always going to these events. Tag along with them. All right? Tag along with them. You know, there's of course there's Rotary. I can say Rotary. There is some people, you know, there's BNI. There are always these women's events going on. I will invite you, of course, to the Women's Getaway. I have to talk about that, ladies. Come into these spaces and network and grow yourself. All right, and always carry a business card. Of course, these days there are ways you can do it. You can share an e-business card, you know, a soft copy or something. But if you can, some people are so traditional. Always have some business cards with you, always. If they are done, replace them. There's nothing as bad as looking for them. Oh, my card, you know. Something recently happened to me. I'd gone for a play, Phantom of the Opera, and it was a Saturday, and I had switched handbags. I had carried a smaller handbag, really, not expecting to meet somebody who would say, okay, give me your card or something. But let me tell you, and it's because I also switched wallets. Usually one of my wallets always has business cards. That day I met like 2 very, very, very important people. And unfortunately, I didn't have my business cards just because it was a Saturday and I just thought, no, let me lay it out and chill. So again, we are still learning and knowing that you just never know who you meet. You just never know and where. So be prepared if you can. Have them with you all the time. Then who's representing your company? Remember what I mentioned? You could send someone who's really going to embarrass you. So invest in your employees, please, not just in yourself. If they're representing you, why are they there? Do they have the right, do they have the right equipment? Meaning, are they well prepared? Do they know who they're supposed to meet during this session? Okay? Be strategic. If you're going somewhere, say, I think this person is going to be there. This speaker is good. You see an event online, go for it because you want to meet a certain speaker, right? Or hear them speak or meet other people, like-minded people. Mind your conversation. This is so important. Are you always the loudest person in the crowd? Are you always a person who makes funny jokes, really annoying and irritating jokes? Have a self-reflection. Are you the person who always hogs conversation? When I say hogging conversation, it means you never let others speak. It's only you who speaks. Why? Do you speak too much? Teach yourself to speak less and listen more. There's power in listening. There's magic in listening. Trust me, it's one of the best things you can teach yourself. I had to start over the past couple of years to speak less and listen more. And oh, the world I see. Ask questions, and know what to say, where, and when. Avoid certain conversations. You should know when you can't speak about politics. You should know when you can't speak about religion. You should know when you can't speak about certain things because you don't know who's around you. All right? Then in case it's a dinner, your table manners really matter. Your table manners really matter. I won't get into this, it's a whole other world, but you should have at least your table manners. Remember them, okay? Or if not, call me and we do a training together. Mind your alcohol intake. I had to speak about this. You've got to represent your company, but then, yes, of course, you're going to serve some alcohol. It's a cocktail. Then you happen to take one too many glasses of wine. Trust me, you'll be remembered as Faith. Oh, the one who got drunk, the one who had too many, drinks, the one one was staggering. Everything else you could have achieved that day is forgotten and you're remembered for the negative. And they'll always know you for that. Or they'll say, oh, Faith, those people, oh, no, sorry. They'll say, oh, those people from the etiquette school, those people are drunkards. Just because one of my employees got tipsy at an event. So mind your alcohol intake. I always advise people, you can carry, if you take alcohol, have one glass of wine and just nurse that glass. They call it nursing. Carry it around, just sip on it, okay? Sip on it and carry it around throughout the whole event. Just not to embarrass yourself. So my big question for you is, how do you plan to do things differently? Out of everything I have shared this morning, what are those little things you're going to do for yourself? And remember, it's a process. You cannot do too much at once. It's one step at a time. Bite what you can chew, but just make sure you get to that goal and to become the best version of yourself. So before I close, I'd like to invite your children for our etiquette class. If you have children who are international schools, they're going to get into their summer holidays. I'm inviting them. It's going to be on the 24th of July and 25th of July. All the age ranges are there. Maybe I'll share the flyer with Ronald so he can share with you. I'll be very, very happy to see them. We had those who were in the UNEB curriculum, I should say. We had them in May, okay? But now those who are in summer school, who are in international schools, please do come along. We'll be very, very happy to see them. Age 7 to 11, 24th of July, then age 12 to 16, 25th of July at Proprietor, Naburu. And for the ladies, we're inviting you to join the Women's Getaway, please. That is our website. Please have a look at it and join us. We have events every single month. And our biggest event of the year always is the high tea. You can come on board as an individual, come on board as a company. We'll be so happy to see you. We celebrate womanhood, we inspire, we mentor, and we grow together. Ronald, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Enterprise Uganda. It's been an honor and a privilege to speak with you. These are all my contact details. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. That is my contact number. And these are all the different businesses that I do. Thank you very much again. Once again, Ronald, over to you.
Thank you so much, Faith, for that very deep, a deep dive into etiquette and how we can be able to handle business better. A number of issues were touched on. I was just here reflecting at the people who have taken a beer or two and become very happy at parties and how problematic that can be.
Yeah.
You touched on really simple things, how to make sure. I mean, you just started with those 5 magic words and why they're important, but how absent they are. I mean, very many times you don't get a thank you, you don't get I'm sorry, and it's quite a common thing. But I mean, just even making sure that you understand that whatever business it is you're doing, it's a profession. I was a bit fascinated. I mean, people put on the Crocs quite a bit, and it's a bit of a problem. I mean, if you want to make an impression, how you wear becomes very important. Wow, we have had a good, we still have a bit of time, close to about 20-30 minutes. And we just want to get into a Q&A. I see in the chat box, there are a number of people are saying thank you. I see, I think Susan talked about an experience she had from a shop owner or attendant who was unfriendly and how that made her feel. I see Dan saying, amazing tips. Thank you. Missing phone calls makes professionals lose great opportunities. That's very true, Dan. Excellent session from Dan. I see Isaac saying thank you so much for sharing very important information that will take our businesses to the next level. Roy is a finalist at Moves, and yes, these 45 minutes are worth 3 years someone could have spent in business school. Brilliant, brilliant. This is Roy saying this is a masterclass that he has just received. Yes, I see Susan saying thank you. She said you've spoken on many things which she's passionate about. Susan, Lugalambi saying thank you for the brilliant presentation. Nora is saying the same. Saying her business will not remain the same. So we have an opportunity to ask questions to Faith at this point. Please go ahead and put up your hand. I'll give you an opportunity to ask your question, or you can go ahead and use the chat box to be able to share your question. Harriet says her take home is revamping the workspace. Super. I mean, that's amazing. How to revamp the workspace. Exactly. Very, very interesting conversations here. I see, yes, a number of comments coming through. Please do put up your hand. If you put up your hand, I'll be able to give you a chance to ask a question. Yes, Evan says, thank you for the much, thank you for the helpful session. I see the same from Ida. A number of just appreciation coming out from Fiona, from Stephen. Roy asks a question. I recently applied for a job, and since I did not know Uganda, I was kicked out. What advice would you give me and such an organization when recruiting?
Oh,
that's one of the questions.
Yeah.
You could take that one as we
Can I
wait
answer
for the
that?
rest
Yeah.
to come in. Yes, please.
Roy, I'm really, really sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. It's really disappointing. Maybe what I wanted to know, were you able to read through the documentation they shared prior to the interview? Did you look out to see the requirements? I really believe most of these spaces have requirements on language. Yeah, maybe, but if in case they didn't have this information, I'm really sorry. I don't know what I could tell you. Really, depending on your line of work, do you think Luganda would be a prerequisite for you? Because maybe this is something for you to get into, that maybe you might need to have some lessons because of the kind of business that you do. Do you deal with Central Uganda quite a lot? I don't know what exactly you do. As I said, do you speak to clients quite a lot? Are you speaking to the person to Muntu Awansi? I'm speaking in Uganda, because that's what they will ask you. Are you speaking to your layman, who definitely will not know English? So what line of work do you do, Roy? In case your work is to do with the person, with the layman, and in Central Uganda, trust me, you might need to learn the language, because otherwise you might get the same disappointment everywhere else. But if not, then maybe it just wasn't meant to be, and that the right one will come along. But just pay attention. Maybe there's something being said. There's a message in there, okay? That you might have to learn the language so you can relate with people even better, depending on what you do, especially if your client facing. If you're in the back end, IT and all that, those ones are always lucky. But if you're client facing, you might need to learn the language depending on what you do. If not, you just apply somewhere else where it's not it might not be a requirement. All right.
All right.
Anybody?
I see a couple of yes. Esther says my takeaway is to mind who represents my business.
Yes.
Super. Nathan says thank you for the excellent session. I see a hand from Farida. Farida, please go ahead and ask your question.
Good morning, Ronald. Good morning, Faith.
Good morning, Farida.
Faith, thank you so much for this presentation. It's really, really wonderful. It has come in at the right time.
Thank you.
I'm having a challenge, especially with networking. As a person, I'm not really outspoken, and I try to improve my skills, especially in speaking, by going out to those spaces. But I've encountered two challenges, which I would like you to help me address. One, when I go for those meetings, because I usually try to challenge myself. I don't want to go with a friend. I want to go by myself and see how I can break the ice. So when I go there, somehow I fail to get a pickup line where to start from. Okay, I can say hello, but I don't know what to do. Then the next is usually you find people, maybe they've come with a friend or relative or something. Once you go there, you say hello, they go to their friend. So you're left there. So the other time, maybe when you have a parents meeting, you go with maybe to a children's school, you have an event, you try to talk to a parent, probably somebody comes to interfere, the one they know. How can I break the ice, especially in such big spaces? Thank you.
Farida, that's a
thank you so much, Farida. I think Faith, let's take a couple and then you will answer them once. Dan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Ronald. I don't have questions. I just wanted to add some few tips regarding online space that keeps me getting annoyed. One point is that when I get people asking about, because based on what I do, for example, I advise students on securing fully funded scholarships, and then I get somebody trying to inquire about my services, via WhatsApp. He just says, hello, keeps quiet. Hello, sir. Now, tell me the story. Okay, say, hello, I'm so-and-so, I'm inquiring about A, B, C, D. So don't wait for me to say, what do you want? Okay, how can I help you? So tell me the story, then I'll be able to reply. Also, I've seen some young people, they use capital letters. Everything is in capital letters, or either on emails or WhatsApp. That's not good. And the other thing is when somebody sends you all the documents about themselves, the first time they are contacting you for something. For example, I'm inquiring about this scholarship, and then he'll send me their CV, degree certificates, national ID, baptism card, blah, blah. I haven't asked all these things, okay? First start the conversation. If I am requiring you to send me your CV, I'll ask for it. So don't send me a lot of documents the first time you are contacting me. It's usually a piece of, yes. And finally, those guys who wear strong perfumes, I think it's not good. Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Dan, for those tips. I think we have a couple more. Then, Faith, I invite you to answer them. Grace asks, how do I deal with clients who perpetually do not keep time for appointments and are not bothered by it? I know customer is king, but it ends up disorganizing one's schedule. I think Roy says they did specify the using Luganda in the job description. Only that when he entered, it appeared the interview was in Luganda. I think that's unfair from the business, because sometimes you need to show clearly who you are looking for, so that I know that I can be able to apply. Grooming matters. It's my takeaway. That's Harriet's takeaway. Faith, you can answer those two questions and then we can proceed.
All right. Let me start with Farida. Farida asked a very good question. And I think many of us have felt that, this insecurity at times. But I'm really glad, Farida, first of all, I applaud you for stepping out of your should I say comfort zone and going out into these spaces. To me, you're almost there. You taking this initiative and doing it, trust me, you're always there. So the tips I would share in social circles, in spaces where you might not know anybody, number one is have some questions on hand. Why are you going into that space? So in case you're going into the, let's say you said a school meeting, right? Why do you have some, is there a need? No, actually, let me talk about school. Let me talk about, it could be an art, imagine it's an art gallery. It's an art gallery and there's someone exhibiting, okay? There's someone exhibiting, and afterwards there's a cocktail. You know, there's a cocktail event after the exhibition. So you could have some questions. First of all, where have you gone into that space? Which means you should know something about the artist, all right? Or maybe you know the person who's going to, or the guest speaker. Inform yourself. Don't get into a space where your mind is just, wow, it means in our word, wow, right? Okay? Have some questions on hand. If you're not supposed to be a certain professor there or an individual that you always wanted to meet, have the questions ready. Okay, then have your elevator pitch ready. I hope you know an elevator pitch. How do you introduce yourself to people? In an, elevator pitch is just like 1 minute from the time you have to, on a certain floor to the next floor. You know, an elevator pitch. Have it ready always. How do you introduce yourself? Then getting into circles. Always enter an open circle. There's something we do during our networking classes. You look out for an audience. Look out for a group of people that is open. You know, that's something about to do with also body language. If you enter an open space where there's a seat available, or you can easily stand in a certain gap, as compared to a close-knit space that you have to squeeze into, that's also something you always look out for. Now, the fourth thing, which is one of the most important things, and if you learn this skill, my mom used to talk about it quite a lot when we were children. So when I grew up, I totally understood it. When I did now my etiquette training and became a professional at it, I understood the power of small talk. So learn the art of small talk. Farida, I hope you're taking notes. The art of small talk just means that you can literally carry out a conversation with anybody in any space. You're at the dentist, you're seated with other patients. Can you carry out a conversation? You're in a bus, you're on an aircraft somewhere. Can you speak to your neighbor? Small talk. Meaning, these are little things you could talk about. You can talk about the weather. You can talk about the potholes in Uganda, in Kampala. That's what everybody's talking about. Basically, those topics that are easy on the ear will not necessarily disturb anybody. Nothing personal. Talk about sports if it's for gentlemen. Talk about sports. Talk about movies, a recent book you're reading. You know, those are the things you can talk about. I remember when I said avoid certain topics, please avoid those topics. Religion, health, you know, those people always ask women, hey, when are you getting married? Oh, hello, how many children do you have? You know, please. Please, please, please. So teach yourself the art of small talk, Farida. Those little light conversations. If you're at an event, talk about, oh, I like the music, I like the band. You know, those little things. Maybe you can make a compliment to someone. It may not have to be immediately when you walk to someone and say, oh, I like your shoes. No. But if it's something nice and polite, learn how to compliment people. I'm not saying overdo it. Those are little things that can help break the ice. All right. And then those people, of course, you'll find those people only speak to those who they know. It always happens. But trust me, you're going to find those people who are open. So use your eyes, read the room. When I walk into a room, I read the room. Surprisingly, I always first like standing back. Then I watch and see who will be approachable. That group where people are laughing openly, where they're doing what, that's the group I'll get into. If it's an evening event, I normally maybe walk towards the bar area. So first get a drink, have a drink, so I can hold a glass, and that glass helps me. I remember nursing the glass. Those are some of the tricks that you do, that you can have. All right? But please, Farida, keep practicing. You're in a good place and you're going to get there. All right? Okay. Then we talked about timekeeping. Somebody asked about timekeeping, clients who don't keep time. I'm really, really sorry about that. But you're going to learn to be a principled person. Trust me. You're going to learn. Mr. Ochichi spoke about this sometime. And it was such a powerful message. I forgot the exact line he said. Okay? But trust me, you won't be found as a rude person. So you should have your guidelines. Have your guidelines as a business owner. Okay. Also tell yourself, if you're in a space, you'll only give a client 15 minutes of waiting or 30 minutes of waiting. They haven't communicated. Then you walk away. If they call you afterwards, you say, oh, I waited 30 minutes. Our business principles are that but if it passes 30 minutes, if it exceeds 30 minutes without a client communicating, that meeting is cancelled. So can we kindly reschedule? You do that. But if they keep on doing it, it just shows a lot of disrespect. So maybe that isn't your client. We have to learn that not every client is our client. If a client cannot also respect you, then there's something not right. So you teach them the way you work. You teach them. So you have your hours of taking client meetings. If they're not meeting that 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, then really, that client is not for you. All right? So I hope that answers that. There's something maybe I forgot to address when we're talking about emails. It just popped in my mind afterwards. When you're responding to an email, you should have, when you let a client know, if you tell a client that I will let you know by end of day, you better get back to the client. So the golden hour is 24 hours of response, honestly. In case you have failed to get the client's results or to have a proper response, write back to me and tell me, dear Faith, I'm really sorry I wasn't able to get the information today, but let me try again tomorrow. The golden hour is 24 hours. Do not assume that the client will be there waiting for you 3 days later just because you said you get back to them. Get back to me and let me know. Again, manage my expectations. Manage my expectations. If not, I'll call up somebody else who will deliver in a day. All right? Okay. So I don't know if there are any more questions, Ronald.
Thank you, Faith. Let me go to the chat box. We still have a couple of minutes, so if you have any other question, please go ahead and ask. I see a hand from Susan. Susan, please go ahead. Sorry, just give me a minute. All right.
Sorry, I was clapping. I didn't mean to.
Oh, okay. No worries at all. No worries at all, Susan. Yeah. Let me see what we have in the. Joshua Kiplagat says, as business owners, some of the clients, some of this client experience should find a way to the owners. I have seen plenty of employees' attitudes, especially if the owner is away, and that puts questions on how owners equip their employees, motivate, train, and trust. I think Joshua's question, Faith, is sometimes it feels like when the owner is there, people get things done. But when the owner is away, then there's a whole new. So how do you transfer this to your employees? I think that's a question which Joshua is alluding to, or the comment is making. So you'll touch on that. Then Joshua says, always strive to do good no matter what comes your way. Be of good cheer, focused and hopeful. I think that's very powerful message. Stephen says, thank you, Faith, for the presentation. I have a question. Rental houses is part of my business. I always want to be polite when talking to my clients, but some take advantage and delay payment. Some even eventually escape with my money. What should I do? That's the question from Stephen. So Faith, you can address those.
Let me start with, how did say Stephen's question? Okay, so as a business owner, Joshua, this was a comment you made, yes, regarding, of course, you know that theory, when the cat is away, when the what is away? when the mice will play, is that it? Basically, that is, it's just like a childhood kind of behavior, right? When your boss is out, and we have all been guilty about it. When you started working, you know, as soon as the boss is leaving the country, you all relax and, you know, we lay back and just want to chill. But what you're saying, motivating them, training and trust, you're right about that. So how do you motivate your employees? How do you motivate them? Do you make them feel important? Or is it just about sales, 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 you know, and commission, commission, commission? Are you training them? Are they feeling like they're part of the brand? And that's what we forget. You should touch the emotion of your employee. Let them feel like they're part of a family. It's not a one-time thing. It's a really huge process. It takes time. But once your employee feels they are wanted, feels they are needed, feel they are part of something, then trust me, they will deliver. They will deliver. Some of us as employers, you get opportunities to go for trainings everywhere, you travel, you do it, but it's always you or the managing directors only, people in management. But the day you ask one of your subordinates, you know, a junior, to come along with you on that trip to Kenya, on that trip to South Africa, let them see the world, expose them. They will come off refreshed. They'll see how the world works. They will come off better, know what competition is doing, and they'll be able to apply everything. But remember, you're the boss. You won't be able to do. These are people who do the work for you. Trust me. So if you're not training them, if you're not teaching them, if you're not adding value to them, what books are they reading? When you see a podcast somewhere, are you sending it to them? Your retreats, do you have company retreats that help them? Do you have a day in the month where you're checking on their mental health and everything that is going on? When I used to work in advertising, every Friday, every Friday, or one Friday in the month, we kept on reducing. We used to have barazas where you just sit down and have a drink with your colleagues, nothing to do with work. We just have a drink and some muchomo. What are you doing for your employees? Okay, but some of it's just about work, 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 work. You're exhausting them. So trust me, when you leave, they will play. They will definitely play. So I don't know if that answers part of your question. Then let me see. Somebody, you spoke about somebody who's renting. I'd want to read that. Okay, I have a question. Rental houses is part of my business, okay? I always want to be polite when talking to my clients, but some take it as advantage to delay payments. That's true. And some even eventually escape with my money. What should I do? I know that's such a painful thing, and I'm not saying speaking politely can always get you the results. That's very true. But then at the end of the day, you have to keep your calm. These are all receipts, because trust me, even screaming in a WhatsApp message will not get you the money. It really will not. So which means, what are your policies as a landlord? What are your policies? When your people come on board, do you sign a contract with them? Do they know that if they don't pay within 3 months, that you're going to throw out their stuff, break the door and throw out their stuff? They sign the contract. So you start implementing these guidelines instead. But trust me, the receipts of the messages are polite. You're being humble. You're giving them time. But when they signed a contract, you pull out the contract and say, on this page in section, I don't know what, these are policies and guidelines. If it gets past 3 months, unfortunately, we have to get rid of, or maybe lock up your property until you pay. What are the phases that you have as a landlord? Okay? Do you lock up the space that they can't enter the space, they can't enter their home, or they can't enter the business, the shop, if it's a shop? Then the next phase will be you throw out their things or you sell them. I don't know, that's being extreme, but I'm just saying, what are your guidelines as a business owner? Be principled. Be principled. It's always better to be known as principled. Okay? All right. You talked about being principled with clients. When this leads us to lose potential clients, because in the business environment, a client is supposed to be the boss, and therefore, as the business personnel, we're supposed to bend to what matches the clients. Oh, wow, Roy. No. Even the language you're using is supposed to bend to what the client is saying. Oh, how much bending will you do, Roy? Okay? This is a whole other topic, but I think when you get the general idea of what I'm trying to say, be principled, you'll understand what I'm trying, the gist of my conversation. Okay? Then Matthias, why is it that business owners never want to empower their management, and then at the end of the day, this costs business? Okay, I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know if it's just a comment or a question, but I think I've spoken about how to invest in your employees. All right.
Yeah, thank you, Faith. I think to Matthias's point, I think you have to choose as an employer. I have had a number of entrepreneurs say, but if I train, the people will go away. But if you don't train them, they will stay. So you need to make sure that you make a choice and say, I'm going to improve my team. It is in your interest, actually. It is in your interest.
Exactly.
I'll see if we have another question or two. Could put up a hand. Super. Faith, I wanted you to touch on the issue of when you talk about meetings, for example, you talked about how we are supposed to behave in meetings, how we choose a location. But how do we make sure that we leave? Sometimes you're going for a meeting and you want to leave an impression. You want to show that you are good at what you do. What tip would you give someone who wants to kind of close this thing with a sale? What should he do to get to that point?
One thing that has come to mind immediately is know your client. So I hope you've done enough research. By the time you're going for this meeting, you've done enough research on the client. You will not make that sale unless you're satisfying a need. So what is your client's pain point? That's why they'll pay you. And that's why they'll say yes to you. So if you go in there just to test the waters, then that's a bit tricky. But if you know their pain point, you made a phone call somewhere, you made your research in the business, you've seen something, you've seen how they work, or you visited their premises or something, then you approach them, or you call for that meeting. You know the pain point and your why. Then, secondly, is do not overpromise a client. If you cannot do something, a day before yesterday, someone called me and asked me, Faith, do you do customer care training? I said, no, but I do part of it. So I partner with somebody. I have a partner who does the full class, and just my section is this, and this, and this. I would have said, yes, I do customer care. I know there's a theory where you say, yes, you say you do everything, and then you see what happens. But trust me, you won't be comfortable and you won't be able to deliver. You will not be able to deliver. So do not overpromise a client. Do not overpromise a client. Then give a client time to talk. Listen. Remember what I said about listening? Some of us want to get into a space and talk. You don't give someone a moment to speak. So how will you know? Ask questions. Farida, this also goes back to you if you're still on the call. There's nothing as clever as asking questions. That's one of the best tricks, and I can share it with you. The more you ask questions, the more you seem interesting, surprisingly, and the more people talk about themselves, and you're getting more information. So Ronald, those are some of the tips I can share. There's of course so much I can go on, but those are the basics that even a person who's not in sales can still apply elsewhere. Okay?
Super. Thanks a lot, Faith. Very, very helpful tips. And I imagine that this is a conversation which we need to continue having. I guess from what we have had today, I think everyone walks away with something. You say, I think I've been doing a bit of that, like, scrolling through your phone as you are in the middle of a conversation with someone. I mean, I do a lot of training and I see it so often. And and sitting right there may be a solution that can help you, make a better impression to your client. So a big thank you, everyone who has joined us. Faith, I just want you to use the next 2 minutes to just kind of share with us any final remarks. Please remind us about the women's getaway and remind us about the etiquette class of the children, but also share with us any final comments that you have.
All right. Thank you, Ronald. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great pleasure meeting with you all. Thank you for sparing your time. Again, I don't take it for granted. And I pray and hope that you have learned one or two things from what I've shared with you this morning. I look forward to meeting with you again. It could be online or physically. Let me put the business contact within the chat. You can get in touch with me. I could come meet your employees or meet with you personally, depending on the different businesses that you do. It will be such a pleasure. I'm inviting your children, in case your children go to international schools and they're getting into their summer break. please bring them to Protea Skies on the 24th and 25th of July. We have a class for them, an etiquette class. It's full day from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. There are different age brackets. Then I've also put the contact in there. I'm going to put the contact in there for the etiquette class. I've invited the ladies to join the Women's Getaway. There's Angel from the Women's Getaway is on the chat. In case you have any message, you can write out to Angel Nahereza. She's on the chat. But if not, you can reach out to us on the number I have shared. Ladies, it's a good platform to be a part of. We grow, laugh, have a good time, and interact with each other. It's been a pleasure once again. Thank you, Ronald. And hope to see all of you soon. All right. So let me put the contact for, the contact, my contact for business, and it's the same one you can use for, to get some more information about what we do. All right.